also want to give some credit to the NEH because when I was working in a museum in the 80s, and we tried to put together some NEH grants, and that the requirement then that the people in the museums work with academic historians, and the fact that the NEH panels included museum people and also academic historians, I think made and certainly in my community, it made a huge bridge there. And that combined with the OAH's interest in museum people, which because I really came to the NCPH really through both my relationship with the NEH and also my relationship with the OAH. And so I think those organizations or those activities bringing people together, and one of the things that I think we talked a little about at the AASLH, the NCPH offered something different to people who saw themselves as the kind of practicing historians who were really interested in working with academic historians in their historical education. And in that sense, the NCPH provided something that nobody else really did.
One of the things I would say, and I mentioned it only in passing, and I would really should have expanded on it. I do believe the State Humanities Councils created some wonderful and very powerful models for getting academic historians out there talking to publics, doing consulting, similar to what I was describing for the Park Service, and I don't think that's usually given as much credit for getting public history organized.
Yeah, no, I would. Before they had the State Humanities Councils, there were 3 places, I think Madison, Princeton, and UCLA, where they had regional, they were kind of prototype things that eventually morphed into the state councils. And I had the privilege of working for 2 years with the UCLA Council, and we had the territory of 7 western states to design public programs. And we designed films, we designed lectures and so forth, and went to prisons, we went to ladies' garden clubs, all over these 7 western states. And
This was when?
This was back in about 1971, 72, and 73. And it was a terrific program, and it certainly was a prelude, as far as I'm concerned, for eventually getting into public history. And some of the people we later got involved in public history were involved in that, like Larry, not Larry Times, but DeGraff and various other people, who became interested in trying to reach out to the public thanks to the NEH.
It's hard to separate out the history of NCPH from the history of public history, and I think in some ways even harder to separate that from the things that were happening to the field of history in the academic world with the creation of all the new histories, the new social history.
Right.
I don't think any of this would have been possible without the interest in the further democratization of history with Afro-American history and women's history and the new social history and so forth. And I think Jerry George is the name of it.
Oh yeah, Jerry George. That's it.
Actually, no. It was his predecessor, Bill Alderson.
Yeah, well, both of them.
But I would think of Jerry as the one who was open to more engagement.
He was the one that Raleigh, I think, like that, right?
No, he was in Nashville.
I think maybe we have time for one more question. Connie?
No, the conference in Raleigh.
Oh, they're all, yeah.
This has been wonderful. I'm sorry you had to go, Phil. I was being interviewed. But one of the things I think, there was a whole series of small associations that fed into this movement as well. And I'd like to call attention to one that had the formal title of Washington Women Historians, but which was really, we knew ourselves as the Friday Lunch Bunch. The idea, it really, Arnita was involved early on, Heather Hike at the National Park Service and Edie Mayo at the National Museum of American History were bringing together women who were historians, most of whom did not have academic jobs, but who worked in the agencies, all kind, the Library of Congress, the National Archives, the National Museum of American History, you name it, if they were the National Park Service, and that was my link directly into the National Council on Public History. And it also involved visiting academics who came to Washington to do research at the Library of Congress or the National Archives with public historians to say, oh, gee, women's history has something in common with this emerging discipline. There's probably a parallel study for African American history becoming involved with public history, and gay, lesbian, and queer history becoming involved. That there are these clusters of people who say, here, public history is something important, we can be part of it. And I just wanted to call attention to that. And that was late 70s?
Yeah, early 80s.
Late 70s, early 80s.
Okay, well, thank you all, and thank you.
I had to take a picture of it.